a lot has happened, but we still have time. Like, don't ever think you don't have time. That's a major issue, I think, with our generation, generations before us. Is you mentioned we're in that self-gratification / like want it now mentality, instant gratification, and self-gratification.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn that it's okay not to have it right away. We talked about one bite at a time from an elephant, like just taking that step to take one step at a time.
Yeah.
And figure out what you love to do and figuring out your voice. And even if you fail, it's okay. What's up, everybody? So, here we are again. My name's Michael.
And I'm Paula.
And we're the DeRosiers. We talked last week about, what was it?
Is it Imperfect Progress?
Yes, Imperfect Progress. And we talked about a little bit about failure and those things. And I kind of wanted to bring that topic back up again with failure. One big reason was there's a hip-hop artist named Andy Mineo. And he is putting out a lot of his music now in these next 8 weeks or more of songs that he created that are not on albums, haven't been put out, they've been sitting on a hard drive. And it's really cool because it's new music, and we love new music from Andy Mineo. My nephew loves it, my kids love him, it's really cool. He's a really good Christian hip-hop artist. I really enjoyed listening to some of the podcasts that they have of it. It's on YouTube, so you can listen to it. And he talks about, in one little small section, there's two things. One, he talks about finding your voice. And then two, he talks about the idea of having boundaries that actually help creatives and help artists and those who are in the creative realm.
I need to look at that podcast.
Really?
I feel like I'm in that right now, this very second.
Well, and as a teacher too, it's you want to learn more to help your students achieve more. So when you grow,
I feel like
students grow.
I feel like I have the resources for that, and I know where to go. But with my own personal art.
Yeah, I get that.
I feel like I'm just.
We've talked about that.
Because we talked about finding your audience and
which is finding your voice.
Yeah, and I'm I don't know. I'm I can do all these things, but I'm not satisfied with it.
Yep.
And I don't feel like it. You can't look at my art and say, "Oh, that's Paula's art."
But then that goes, but then that goes into the idea that you're not creating right now, which means you're not having any kind of imperfect progress.
I know. That's what's hard with being as
you're busy.
Active as I am.
You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
So, with all that, I think that's kind of neat because it goes into failure. So Andy Mineo talks about how he had to continually fail. And I don't like using the word fail, but he had to continue to create things that weren't up to par with what he wanted.
As the youth of America would call it, trash.
Oh, God. She's a high school teacher. So just to explain that.
And then they hear me say my lingo from when I was in high school, which wasn't relatively that long ago. And they're like, what?
We're not old. 28 and 30. Whatevs. I didn't even say that. So with that, the idea of being able to fail and to be able to make mistakes. So I mentioned a little bit in the last video, and we'll go into detail about how I had issues with failing. And I had issues with just taking a step to do something. And so I really never found my voice. I never continually failed or kept trying at something. Or I know we watch a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talks about tasting things, meaning trying new things out. And that I'm only 28 and I still have time. What really gets me and thinking that I've failed is I haven't been able to try things, and all these obstacles do come in the way. So those of you who have children, we understand. It is very difficult to try things, to step out and do things because of time management and because of pouring into your children and all of those aspects. We dealt with that a little bit about making sure our children had our time, had our focus and whatnot. So completely understand. This is not saying, hey, you need to go do this. We understand from that perspective. We're young. We have 3 kids already. The oldest is 5, turning 6 this year. We've been married 7 years this year in October. A lot has happened, but we still have time. Don't ever think you don't have time. That's a major issue, I think, with our generation, generations before us is, you mentioned we're in that self-gratification / want it now mentality. Instant gratification. And self-gratification.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn that it's okay not to have it right away. We talked about one bite at a time from an elephant, like just taking that step to take one step at a time.
Yeah.
And figure out what you love to do and figuring out your voice. And even if you fail, it's okay.
You can even find, if you haven't seen this already, like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, celebrities that didn't find success until later on in their life. Like Vera Wang, I think, was 40 when she...
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when she first, like, I guess really became known. I don't know the history behind it. It was just a list
She's
of
huge.
people.
She is huge.
And even Steve Carell.
Like, not physically.
Steve Carell was older when he, like,
Yeah.
really became, like...
40-Year-Old Virgin, I think, was his big...
like break.
Terrible movie to mention on the show.
But
The Office really set him off, which The Office is amazing.
And something that Gary Vee has really kind of helped me relax in my life with is he talks about if you're in your 20s and even in your 30s, like you have time to, as long as you're doing something and like you were saying, like experimenting and trying new things,
Even if it fails.
you're on the right track.
Yeah.
He didn't really, I guess he said he was 40 and he, like, that's when he really felt like things, like he reached a point of success.
Success, yes, yeah.
And
so, your phone's going off. So with his story, so with his story, he talks about how he had Wine Library TV. Before that, it was just Wine something on YouTube. Then it became Wine Library TV. Then it started to become Gary Vaynerchuk, and then the Gary Vee Show, and then Ask Gary. So there was a progression to it. It took time, like, and he failed every day that a video didn't go big, quote unquote, you know. But he still did it. He didn't have, like...
I think it's because he believed in it. And he believed in something and he had a vision. And I think that's what...
And he just kept working it until he figured it out, you know?
Yeah.
And like, there's an episode where he talks about people getting so... And this is what helped me a ton, just start. Even though I think some of the things are like trash. Are failures almost. But he talked about how his first video...
Make it lit and throwed, not trash. Sorry, I had to say that.
Gary Vee talks about how his first video was like doing an interrogation video, and I looked like he shows it while he's saying it, and I was like, oh my gosh! And he has like a white shirt, like a flat shirt, horrible lighting, horrible audio, but still he started, and like that's huge because.
And it's still on YouTube. Like, he didn't take it down. Like, don't take your trash stuff down. Like, leave it up.
Because it helps others see, it helps you see your progress, and then it helps others see your progress.
Yeah. And
like,
it's
look,
inspiring.
This stuff sucked. It failed. It was not good. But in time, it helped me learn where I needed to be. And, like, it's funny because we take people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon. He's a guy I watch a photographer who's amazing. Some other big names that are, whether they're video game artists that became big and did YouTube or any of those stuff, and we look at them and we're like, we see them up here, and so even when we watch their trash stuff, we think it's up here. Like, I just thought about that. Like,
that's true.
Like, oh man, look at
we see
that's Gary's stuff. Wow.
Still even
as top notch when they were crap.
Yeah.
Like, that video is terrible. But when I watch it, I'm like,
wow,
all
Gary Vee.
Yeah, and so all I think about in my natural mind is I can't be as good as him because he's up here.
Right.
Where it took him forever to get there. He's got he's got all this stuff now.
Yeah.
But he still reaches down to the lowest of the lows. It's like, look how crappy my bleep was. You know? And I think that's amazing to help encourage you guys. Like, even though your stuff may not be on par with what you want or like whoever your idol is, whoever your mentor, you know, where you want to be is. Where you want to be is, wow, that's great English. But wherever you're trying to be successful at or in, whether it's motherhood, fatherhood, marriage, you know, failure is going to happen. Like, our first few years of marriage, they were not horrible. I can't say they're horrible, but they weren't pretty either. Like, thankfully we were friends. That's a huge thing. we were friends, and so we knew we knew that we loved each other. We knew that we both had issues. We both knew each other's past before we even started. We've seen each other at our lowest of lows before we got married, so we were like, there's some beep to deal with both ways. Me too. It's okay to fail. It's okay to find your voice. Find your voice in your marriage. Find your voice in your parenting. Which that never stops. That's a continual growing.
And then like the kids grow, and then you figure out
another voice. Yeah.
You like grow with them. Having a newborn and then having a 5-year-old is like two different
spectrums.
Experiences.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, but even in that, I think it's awesome to see that it's okay to fail because you learn from your failures. And I think we'll talk about the box next time, boundaries next time. I think this is the topic. But that goes into a lot of things. And so just be okay with being not a failure, but not good at something. Being okay to make a mistake. Being okay because if you make mistakes, it's where you learn. Now, there are ways to learn not to make those mistakes by learning from others first. Yeah. But sometimes I honestly feel like you could watch somebody else do it.
Yeah, you have
But
to
until you do it and fail and make mistakes and not do as good as you could do and learn from that, it's a whole other spectrum. Because everybody learns differently. Everybody takes in things differently. So no matter where you guys are at, no matter if you're exactly where you want to be, no matter if your marriage is perfect, no matter if you feel like you're the perfect parent, don't feel like you're a failure. That's a huge thing I want to push.
Every day's a new day. It's a day full of opportunity, so make the best of it.
From our perspective as Christians, that we are all made in the image of God, and that we are all wonderfully and beautifully made. So no matter where you're at, no matter if it's you feel like you're at the lowest of lows, or you feel like you're on top 9, just know that it's okay to make a mistake, it's okay to fail, but also you're made for more, you're made for success, and we are just now, I believe, slowly learning that. And it's a time progress. You got to let God work in you. You've got to let yourself heal at times. We're in a season of healing right now with our family from some changes we've had that we've mentioned in previous videos. So whoever you are, I hope that you have an amazing day. I hope that whatever, I just heard our child, whatever situation you're in, whatever season you're in, that you keep pushing forward, that you make it to where you want to be, and that you have an amazing week this week, and we hope to see you guys next time. So,
bye.
Bye.